Hi everyone, it's me, Nanny Annie again. I'm going to tell you another one of my stories, if that's okay with you. I love speaking to you because it helps me with missing my grandchildren because I can't cuddle them. And I've actually told them that they need to save all those cuddles for me while I'm in lockdown so that when everything's okay and I can come out, I can have the best cuddles ever. So while I'm doing this and talking to you, it's helping me. I hope it's helping you too. Right, this one's called Tantrum Arla. Arla lived in a nice house with a little brother and a mum and a dad. Her dad worked away a lot of the time, so Arla felt, as the oldest, she was in charge. Her mum let her think this, although everyone knew that Mummy was in charge. She liked Arla to look after her baby brother and thought that it would help Arla have a sense of responsibility and make her feel very grown up. Arla liked feeling in charge and responsible, but unfortunately she started to stamp her feet when her little brother wouldn't do what she wanted him to do. So every day her stamping to get her own way got worse and worse. Her mum said, "Arla, you need to stop that." But she said, "You need to stop it, darling, because if you don't stop it, what will happen is you'll go through that floor one day." But Arla's foot stamping got worse and worse until one day she had a full-blown tantrum. Oh my goodness. Arla didn't believe when her mum had told her that she'd go through the floor if she stamped her feet the way she did. But it was a Tuesday and Arla had the worst tantrum ever. She didn't want to eat breakfast because she wanted chocolate. Her mum said, "Chocolate's not for breakfast, Arla. You have to have a healthy breakfast." But Arla threw her tantrum and shouted, "Give me chocolate." Then she stamped and stamped and stamped her feet so hard the floor collapsed and she went into a big hole. Down and down Arla fell into the darkness until she landed with a bump. Arla was stunned, as her mum had told her that she'll fall through the floor one day if she didn't stop stamping her feet. She stood up and looked about her. She couldn't see the hole she'd fallen through, but she'd heard a strange scraping noise. She shouted, "Is there anybody there?" But she didn't. No one answered. And all she heard was this strange scraping noise again. Arla shouted louder and louder, but still there was no answer. She got so mad she screamed and stamped her feet, and all of a sudden a gnome carrying a bucket and a trowel dropped beside her and said, "You might as well stop that stamping and screaming because there's only me here." Arla demanded to know who he was and where here was. "I'm the tantrum gnome," he said. "My name's Fred, and it is my job to fix the holes that naughty tantrum throwers make. See, here is my bucket of cement and a trowel. I've just fixed up the hole that you made." "Well, open it up again," said Arla. "Can't do that." "But I want to go home," Arla demanded. "I only fix things," said the gnome, "not break them." Arla started to get mad again because Fred, the tantrum gnome, wouldn't let her out. So she stamped her feet and Fred looked at her calmly and said, "I wouldn't start stamping your feet again, little tantrum thrower, because you know what happened last time." Arla didn't listen, and before she knew it, The ground below her gave way and she fell down into another hole. Fred the gnome looked down at her and said, "Told you so." Arla shouted for Fred to pull her up. But Fred said, "Can't do that. I only fix tantrum holes. You'll have to find your own way out." And then Fred started covering the hole with cement. Arla was very scared as she sat in the darkness, wondering how she was going to get out. She saw there was a light up ahead and decided to follow it. As she drew closer, she thought she could hear voices. Arla ran towards them, hoping that they would show her the way to get out. "Hello, hello," she shouted. "How do I get out of here?" 4 boys and 5 girls turned round, and in chorus they replied, "You can't." Now, children, that's not true," said the gnome, who looked exactly like Fred. "Fred, what are you doing here? Have you finished fixing the hole?" Arla asked. "Oh, bless your heart, that's my brother. My name's Francis. I look after the children on this level until they learn to stop having tantrums and find their way home." One little girl said, "I've been here years and years. We all have. We all just want to go home, but we can't seem to find the way." "No one's keeping me here for years and years," shouted Arla. "Let me go now, Francis." Francis just shook his head. "You don't want to throw another tantrum, Arla, because you know what happens." The children all looked at Arla in horror and shouted, "Don't do it! Don't do it!" The ground beneath Arla's feet started to rumble. Arla stood as still as she could because she didn't want to fall through another hole. Arla asked, "What happens if I fell through the other hole?" A tough little boy said, "No one knows, because everyone who fell through were never seen again." Francis looked serious and said, "Arla, the deeper you go, the harder it'll be to find your way home. At the very bottom there is a dark pit filled with things that scare even me. You have to learn to control yourself, otherwise..." And he shook his head. The boys and girls introduced themselves. The tough boy was called George and the girl was called Annie. They said they would help Arla to get home if they could. George and Annie said that they thought their parents had stopped looking for them as they'd been there for so long. This made Arla very sad because she missed her mum and dad and brother. Francis gave the children lots of jobs to do and lessons in how not to throw tantrums. Arla was very keen to learn because she didn't want to end up in that deep, dark pit. After a while, Arla became calmer, and she no longer shouted or stamped her feet. She didn't want to mess things up because she really wanted to go home. One day, Francis came and said it was time for Arla to join his brother Fred on the next level up, as she'd been so good. Arla waved to her friends and gave special hugs to George and Annie, and off she went up the slope to the next level. Fred was waiting for her and gave Arla a bucket of cement and a trowel, and he told Arla that from now on she was going to be his apprentice and work her way out and go home. While working for Fred the gnome, she saw lots of girls and boys fall through the holes. Some continued to throw tantrums and fell down to the next level. Arla and Fred fixed the holes and hoped no more children would fall through. Arla worked very hard until one day Fred said, "Arla, I think you're cured of tantrum throwing. Tonight I will take you home. You will help me undo the hole you made and will quietly creep into your house. No noise now, otherwise we'll have to come back." Arla promised she'd be as quiet as a mouse. When it was dark, Fred and Arla quietly removed the cement from her hole and climbed into the kitchen. All was quiet in the house. Arla had to stop herself from running into her mum's room and kissing her. She had promised Fred no noise. She didn't want to go back into the hole. Fred tucked Arla into bed and stroked her head. "I'm very proud of you, Arla. Now I'll sprinkle something on your eyes. It's called magic dust, and it will help you sleep." Arla smiled and fell fast asleep. That morning her brother came into Arla's room and jumped on her bed. "Wake up, sleepyhead, it's time for school," he shouted. Much to her brother's surprise, Arla laughed and hugged her brother very, very hard. Her mum came into the bedroom with her clothes for school, and Arla jumped up and hugged her mum so hard, telling her how much she loved and missed her so much. Her mum looked at her and pretended to look under the bed. "What have you done with my tantrum-throwing Arla?" she joked. Arla looked at her mum with tears in her eyes and said, "That naughty Arla has gone forever, mummy. No more tantrums for me." Her mum smiled gently and kissed her. "Come on, Arla. I want to get you ready for school because we've got some new children who've moved in next door. I hope that you'll be friends with them. Their names are George and Annie." Arla just stood and looked open-mouthed and said, "George and Annie? Oh, I'm so happy they got out." Her mum looked puzzled but shook her head, saying, "I think you've had some sort of strange dream, darling." So Arla got ready and her mum and brother went next door. And there was the tough-looking boy she knew and the friendly girl. Yes, it was George and Annie, and everyone went off to school and no one had any more tantrums, and they all lived happily ever after. Was this a dream? Did the tantrum-throwing gnomes exist? Do you throw tantrums? I don't think so. You wouldn't be doing that. Maybe one day we'll find out if they do exist. I'm not going to throw any tantrums. Now, did you enjoy that story? I enjoyed telling it to you. You know, one of the things that I think you can do during your lockdown and while this thing's going on is to start writing your own stories, because your imagination, you can do anything. You can be a superhero and go anywhere and just write your own stories. So practice those and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.